The phone rang at 2:47 a.m. I know because I was staring at the ceiling, running calculations in my head for the thousandth time that week. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize, but something made me answer anyway. Is this Marcus Chen? The voice was crisp, professional, expensive. The kind that meant serious money was about to change hands. Speaking. This is David Richardson from Meridian Ventures. We need to talk about your patent application for automated inventory management systems. Specifically, we'd like to discuss an acquisition offer. $12 million. My blood turned to ice water. The room spun, because I hadn't filed any patent application, but I knew exactly who had. My cousin Sarah. 3 months earlier, I'd been sitting in her cramped downtown apartment, papers spread across her coffee table like a war room strategy session. She was helping me prepare for the biggest pitch of my life. Or so I thought. The investors are going to love this, Marcus. Her finger traced the technical diagrams I'd spent 2 years perfecting. This automated system could revolutionize how small businesses manage inventory. It's brilliant. I trusted her completely. Blood runs deep, right? Sarah had an MBA from Wharton and connections I could only dream of. When she offered to help me prepare for the Meridian Ventures pitch meeting, it felt like a gift from the universe. Walk me through the presentation one more time, she said, leaning forward with that encouraging smile I'd known since we were kids building forts in our grandmother's backyard. I want to make sure you nail every detail. So I did. I showed her everything. The core algorithm that took me 18 months to develop, the user interface designs, the market research proving demand, the revenue projections that made my hands shake with possibility, the complete technical specifications that were my life's work condensed into 57 pages of pure innovation. She took notes, asked probing questions, made suggestions that actually improved my pitch. For 3 hours, she was the perfect mentor, the supportive family member who believed in my dream when nobody else would. You're going to change the world with this, she whispered as I packed up my materials. I'm so proud of you. I left her apartment feeling invincible, ready to walk into that boardroom and claim my future. The meeting was scheduled for Thursday at 10 a.m. I arrived at the Meridian Ventures offices 30 minutes early, wearing the only suit I owned, carrying a briefcase that contained everything I'd worked for since dropping out of my engineering program to chase this impossible dream. The receptionist smiled politely. Mr. Chen, I'm sorry, but there's been a scheduling conflict. Mr. Richardson had to step out unexpectedly. We'll need to reschedule. My stomach dropped. This was my shot, my one chance to get in front of investors who actually had the resources to make my vision reality. But I nodded professionally, rescheduled for the following Tuesday, and walked out of that glass tower feeling like I'd been punched in the chest. That weekend, Sarah called me. How did the meeting go? Her voice carried the perfect note of excited anticipation. It got postponed, I said. Next Tuesday instead. Oh no, that's terrible timing. I'm completely swamped next Tuesday. Won't be able to help you prep again. Something in her tone made me pause. A slight hesitation, a beat too long before she spoke. But I pushed the feeling away. Paranoia was just my anxiety talking. Tuesday came. I walked into the same glass tower, same briefcase, same dreams burning in my chest. But this time, David Richardson was waiting. He was younger than I expected, with silver-rimmed glasses and the kind of confident handshake that probably closed million-dollar deals before breakfast. Mr. Chen, thank you for coming in. Though I have to admit, I'm a bit confused about why you're here. The words hit me like ice water. I'm here to pitch my automated inventory management system. We scheduled this meeting last week. His eyebrows lifted. Ah, I see the confusion now. We actually just concluded negotiations on a very similar system yesterday. Remarkable technology. Automated inventory management with real-time analytics and predictive optimization. Quite innovative. The room started spinning. Who did you acquire it from? A brilliant young entrepreneur named Sarah Chen. Are you related by any chance? The last name is identical. My cousin, my blood, my family. I somehow managed to finish that conversation without screaming, asked a few professional questions about their decision timeline, shook hands, walked out of that building like a normal human being instead of someone whose entire world had just collapsed. But inside, something fundamental had broken. That night, I called Sarah. She answered on the third ring, sounding slightly breathless. Marcus, how did the meeting go? I've been thinking about you all day. They passed, I said quietly. Said they'd already acquired something similar from another inventor. Oh God, I'm so sorry. That's devastating. But you can't give up, okay? This is just a setback. Your system is incredible. Her sympathy felt like acid on an open wound, because she wasn't lying exactly. My system was incredible. Incredible enough that she'd stolen it and sold it for $12 million. Yeah, I managed. Just a setback. I spent the next 3 days in a fog of rage and disbelief. But then, something shifted. The betrayal crystallized into something colder, more focused. If Sarah thought she could steal my work and disappear into her $12 million sunset, she was about to learn otherwise. I started digging. Patent databases, corporate filings, investment announcements. Within a week, I had the complete picture. Sarah Innovations LLC, incorporated just 2 months ago. One employee, one product, one patent application filed with the exact technical specifications I'd shown her in her apartment. But here's the thing about patents. They have to be filed by the actual inventor, and filing false patent applications is a federal crime. I had proof that the system was mine. 2 years of development notes, time-stamped code repositories, email exchanges with beta testers dating back 18 months. A paper trail that painted a very clear picture of who had actually created the technology Sarah was claiming as her own. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Rebecca Martinez had helped me incorporate my business and review contracts. She was smart, hungry, and had the kind of sharp instincts that made opposing counsel nervous. Patent theft, she said when I finished explaining. Marcus, this is serious. If you can prove prior invention, not only can you invalidate her patent, you can potentially claim damages for fraud and theft of intellectual property. How long would something like that take? Patent disputes can drag on for years, but if your evidence is as solid as you're describing, we might be able to expedite things, especially if she's already monetized your work. That's when I told her about the $12 million Meridian acquisition. Rebecca's voice went deadly quiet. She sold your patent for $12 million? Marcus, we're not talking about a dispute anymore. We're talking about federal criminal charges. Theft of intellectual property valued over $10 million carries serious prison time. But I wasn't interested in sending Sarah to prison. I wanted something better than revenge. I wanted justice. That afternoon, I drove to a small electronics shop in Chinatown and bought surveillance equipment. Nothing fancy. Just a basic recording device and a high-resolution camera that could capture everything from 50 feet away. Because I knew my cousin, and I knew that $12 million wouldn't be enough for her. She was planning something bigger. The first recording session was a disaster. Sarah's new office was in a secure building downtown, and getting close enough to capture anything useful proved almost impossible. But I learned her routine. Coffee shop every morning at 8:30, lunch meetings twice a week at the same restaurant, evening gym sessions that ended with phone calls in the parking garage. That's where I finally got what I needed. She was standing next to her brand new Tesla, talking to someone whose voice I couldn't quite catch through the recording equipment. But I heard enough. The Meridian deal was just the beginning, she was saying, her voice carrying clearly in the concrete acoustics of the garage. They have interest in the expanded medical applications. We're talking about another $40 million if I can prove the system works for hospital inventory management. My blood turned to ice, because the medical applications were something I'd been developing separately, private notes in a password-protected file that I'd never shown anyone. Except I had mentioned it to Sarah during one of our family dinners 6 months ago, a casual comment about how the same algorithms could revolutionize hospital supply chains. She wasn't just stealing my current work, she was planning to steal my future innovations too. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I was going to beat her at her own game. The next morning, I filed my own provisional patent application, not for the original system Sarah had stolen, but for the expanded medical applications she was trying to claim. Every innovation I'd been quietly developing, every algorithm improvement, every interface enhancement I'd planned for version 2. I beat her to the patent office by 3 days. But I didn't stop there. I reached out to medical supply companies directly, pitched the system to hospital administrators, built relationships with potential clients who would need the advanced features Sarah was promising but couldn't actually deliver. Because here's the thing about my cousin. She understood business. She understood patents and acquisitions and investor relations, but she didn't understand the technology itself. She couldn't modify the code or adapt the system to new requirements. She'd stolen my past, but she couldn't steal my ability to innovate. For 6 weeks, I played a shadow game, learning her strategy by monitoring her meetings and phone calls, building my own network of contacts and potential licensing deals, staying 2 steps ahead of her expansion plans. The breakthrough came when she made her first major mistake. David Richardson from Meridian Ventures called her with concerns about system performance in their pilot program. The original code I'd written was solid but wasn't scaling properly to their larger inventory requirements. They needed modifications. Sarah promised deliverables she couldn't possibly provide. I know because I was in the coffee shop next to their lunch meeting recording every word. The optimization issues are minor, she told Richardson, over salmon and asparagus. My team can have the fixes deployed within 2 weeks. Richardson looked skeptical. Sarah, our technical team ran comprehensive tests. The core algorithm needs fundamental restructuring to handle enterprise-level data volumes. This isn't a minor fix. Trust me, she said with a confident smile she'd inherited from our grandmother. I wrote this system from the ground up. I know exactly what needs to be changed. She was lying to a $12 million client about technical capabilities she didn't possess, and I had it all on tape. That evening, I called Richardson directly. Mr. Richardson, this is Marcus Chen, the inventor you met with several months ago. I believe we need to discuss some concerns about the technology you acquired from Sarah Chen. The silence on the line stretched for 10 seconds. When he finally spoke, his voice was carefully neutral. What kind of concerns, Mr. Chen? The kind that could save your company from a very expensive lawsuit, and possibly provide you with access to actual technical support for the system you purchased. We met the next day. I brought everything. Development notebooks dating back 2 years before Sarah's patent application, time-stamped code repositories, email exchanges proving I'd been working on medical applications before she'd even heard about the Meridian deal. But most importantly, I brought solutions to the scaling problems their technical team had identified. Richardson studied my documentation for nearly an hour before speaking. Mr. Chen, if what you're showing me is accurate, we may have purchased intellectual property from someone who had no legal right to sell it. That's correct. Which would expose us to significant liability. Also correct. He leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. What exactly are you proposing? This was the moment I'd been building toward for months. Meridian Ventures has a choice. You can continue working with someone who stole the technology and can't actually support it. Or you can work with the actual inventor who can not only fix your current problems but provide the medical applications you're really interested in. And your cousin's $12 million contract becomes worthless the moment her patent is invalidated for fraud. Richardson's phone rang before he could respond. He glanced at the caller ID and smiled grimly. Speak of the devil, it's Sarah, probably calling about those deliverables she promised. He answered on speaker. David, I have terrible news. Sarah's voice filled the conference room, tight with barely controlled panic. There's been a security breach in our development environment. The optimization code was corrupted. We're going to need additional time to... Sarah, Richardson interrupted quietly. I'm going to stop you right there. We need to discuss the authenticity of your patent claim. I'm sitting here with someone who has compelling evidence that the technology you sold us belongs to them. The silence from Sarah's end went on so long I thought the call had dropped. When she finally spoke, her voice was small and hollow. Who? Your cousin Marcus, and he has 2 years of development documentation that predates your patent application. I heard her breath catch, then a sound that might have been a sob. I can explain. No, Richardson said firmly. You can't. Mr. Chen, I believe you and I need to discuss new terms. The line went dead. 2 hours later, my phone rang, Sarah's number. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello, Sarah. Marcus. Her voice was broken, raw. Please, we need to talk. Do we? I know what you must think of me, but you don't understand the whole story. I was desperate. The medical bills from Mom's cancer treatment, the mortgage payments I was behind on. I saw an opportunity and I took it. I'm sorry. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. You could have asked me for help, I said quietly. Family is supposed to help family. Would you have given me $12 million? No, but I would have given you a partnership, I would have shared the success instead of letting you steal it. She was crying now. What are you going to do? I'm going to fix the problems you created. I'm going to support the technology you can't. And I'm going to build the business we could have built together. And me? That's up to Meridian's lawyers. I hung up. 3 weeks later, I signed a new contract with Meridian Ventures. They acquired my legitimate patent applications for $15 million, plus licensing agreements for future medical innovations that could be worth another $50 million over the next 5 years. Sarah's patent was invalidated by the USPTO. Her company was sued by Meridian for fraud and breach of contract. She settled for an undisclosed amount that reportedly left her with significant legal debt. The story should end there. Justice served. The good guy wins. Roll credits. But that's not how real life works. 6 months after our contracts were finalized, I got another late-night phone call. Marcus? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need you to know something. What? There's a reason I helped you prepare for that first Meridian meeting so thoroughly. A reason I knew exactly which details to focus on. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? I wasn't working alone. Someone approached me about your technology months before you asked for my help. They knew you were planning to pitch Meridian. They knew specific details about your system that I'd never heard before. The room started spinning again. Who? Rebecca Martinez. My lawyer. The woman I trusted with my most sensitive legal strategies. The person who'd helped me document Sarah's theft and build the case that got me everything I wanted. She contacted me 3 weeks before you asked for my help, Sarah continued. Said she had a client with interesting technology who was too naive to protect himself properly. Offered me a percentage if I could acquire his patents before he figured out their real value. You're lying. I have emails, Marcus, recorded phone calls. She was planning to let you win your case against me, then challenge your patents herself using insider information from your legal consultations with her. She knew I was the perfect fall guy, the evil cousin who'd betray family for money. My hands were shaking. Why are you telling me this now? Because she's about to make her move. And because despite everything I did to you, we're still family. Blood runs deep, right? I hung up and immediately called Rebecca's office. Her assistant informed me that Miss Martinez was unavailable and had cleared her calendar for the rest of the week. The next morning, I received an official notice. Rebecca Martinez was filing claims against my medical application patents, citing undisclosed conflicts of interest in my acquisition of the intellectual property. She was arguing that since I'd used her legal services to invalidate Sarah's competing patents, my own patents were tainted by attorney misconduct and should be transferred to a neutral third party for proper administration. A third party represented by Rebecca Martinez. I realized I'd been playing checkers while she'd been playing chess. The phone rang again. 2:47 a.m. again. Exactly like the night this all began. But this time, I knew who was calling before I answered. Hello, Rebecca. Marcus, I was hoping we could discuss this civilly. Were you? When you manipulated my cousin into stealing my work, so you could steal it from her? I prefer to think of it as ensuring proper legal representation for valuable intellectual property. Her voice was calm, professional, the same tone she'd used when I trusted her with my future. You played us both. I provided legal services that resulted in you receiving $15 million. I'd say that makes me quite good at my job. And now you want to take it all. I want proper compensation for identifying the true value of your work and protecting it from theft. I could hear her smiling through the phone. Marcus, you're a brilliant inventor, but you're terrible at business. Sarah was greedy and reckless, but I'm patient and thorough. I've been planning this since the day you walked into my office. And you think you're going to win? I think I have documentation of every legal strategy we discussed, every weakness in your original patent applications, every piece of evidence you shared with me under attorney-client privilege. I know your case better than you do because I helped you build it. She was right, and we both knew it. But here's the thing about underestimating people. Sometimes the person you think is naive has been learning, growing, adapting. Rebecca, can I tell you something? Of course. I've been recording our phone conversations for the past 3 months, including this one. The silence stretched for 30 seconds. That's illegal, she finally said. Attorney-client privilege prohibits. Prohibits recording conversations with my attorney. I interrupted. But you just terminated our attorney-client relationship by filing claims against me, which means you're no longer my lawyer. You're just someone attempting to extort me. You can't prove. I can prove everything. Your initial contact with Sarah, your coordination of her theft, your plan to use attorney-client privilege as a shield while you stole my work. And now I have you admitting it all on tape. Another long silence. When she spoke again, her voice was different, smaller. What do you want? I want you to withdraw your claims. I want you to disappear. And I want you to remember that sometimes the naive inventor is smarter than everyone thinks. And if I don't, then I turn everything over to the State Bar Association, the FBI's white-collar crime unit, and every legal journal that would be interested in a story about an attorney who orchestrated the theft of her own client's intellectual property. I hung up. Rebecca Martinez withdrew her claims the next morning. Her law practice closed 6 weeks later after the State Bar opened an investigation based on evidence I provided. Sarah avoided criminal charges in exchange for testifying against Rebecca and agreeing to never practice business consulting again. The real irony? Sarah was right about one thing: blood does run deep. 3 months ago, I received a handwritten letter from my cousin. She was working as a paralegal in Oregon, making $40,000 a year and slowly paying back the legal debts from our patent war. The letter was short, just 3 paragraphs apologizing for her betrayal and thanking me for not destroying her completely when I could have. But the last line hit me harder than I expected. I hope someday you can forgive me because I'll never forgive myself. I still have that letter. I read it sometimes when I'm working late in my new office, building the next generation of inventory management systems that could change how the entire supply chain industry operates. Because here's what I learned from this whole nightmare. Trust is fragile. Family can betray you. Lawyers can steal from you. Blood doesn't always run deep enough to matter. But innovation is forever. They can steal your current work, but they can't steal your ability to create something better. My medical application system launched last month. 7 hospitals are running pilot programs. The early results suggest we could revolutionize how medical supplies are managed globally. The business is worth approximately $40 million now, and growing. Sometimes late at night, when another sleepless bout of creative energy strikes, I wonder what would have happened if Sarah had simply asked me for help instead of stealing my work. We could have been partners, built something incredible together. But then I remember that some lessons can only be learned the hard way. Trust carefully, document everything, and never underestimate family's capacity for both betrayal and redemption. My phone is ringing now, 2:47 a.m. again, but this time it's a number I recognize. A hospital administrator in Chicago who wants to discuss expanding our pilot program to their entire network. This time, I answer with a smile, because this time I know exactly who's calling and why. This time, everything belongs to me.